these have in common? Recognize the Apple computer, the original 1984, the Polaroid camera. Well, I'll tell you later. Imagine watching your favorite TV show. Watching television, it might be a sporting event. It might have been watching the UT Georgia game yesterday, or something else. And imagine only seeing only a part of the screen, not being able to see the full screen, but just a part of the screen. Imagine that that was how you saw things every time you looked at the television screen. Imagine that you would see this every day, and as you watched it over and over again, you became convinced that this was your reality. That you became convinced that the picture that you were seeing reflected the total picture. Imagine yourself seeing that and insisting upon that being the picture, that being reality, that being the way things are. Imagine that. And when you encounter someone else and they try to convince you otherwise, you would argue with them because you're convinced that this is reality, that this is the place. And you might say that that's ridiculous. How in the world would I ever get caught up in that? How would I understand that that was reality? Because after all, we know that there's something else. But the thing of it is that each and every one of us does this every day. Every day. We are bombarded every second with 600 billion bits of information. Every second. But don't worry. You're all right. Because what happens is that your mind filters it down to 2,000 bits per second. So rather than the 6 billion per second is filtered down to 2,000 bits per second. So you've got that filtering that's coming in, that's there for you, that's helping you. But the thing of it is that it's not what reality ultimately is. There's a far bigger picture than what we see. A far bigger picture than what we're exposed to. A far bigger picture than what we know. And see, the thing of it is that we so often go through life thinking that all that there is to life is that which we can see, touch, taste, hear, smell. We think that's it, and we call that reality. But it's just a portion of reality. There's a much bigger picture, and Gabriel talked about the class that we're doing. And one of the things that we understand in that class, as we've been exposed to this information, is the fact that it's just like going someplace and you're not needing particular information before. Suddenly you need that information and you walk in and you say, why hadn't I noticed this was here before? Why didn't I notice that those things were in this store? Or why didn't I notice that street or that house over there? Because we get caught in a rut, in a pattern, thinking that that's all there is. So this morning, I'm challenging you to open up to the field of potentiality, to infinite possibilities, to that place and that space where all that is already expressing it to you. Some of you have heard the story, it's been told, a teaching story that's been told about the 6 blind men who were in their village and someone announced that an elephant was coming to the village that day. They'd never experienced an elephant before. So they brought them out to experience an elephant, and they couldn't see, so they said the only way that we would know what an elephant was to touch it. So as they went up to the elephant, one of them says that the elephant is a pillar because he was hugging the elephant's leg. Somebody said, no, you're not, it's like a rope because they were holding the elephant's tail. Another one said, no, it's like a big hand fan because he was touching the elephant's ear. Another one said, no, it's like a huge wall because he was touching the belly. And finally, the 6th man said, no, it's like a pipe because he was holding on to the tusk. Each one was experiencing something different. And yet, if they were going to identify their experience as just being that one thing, then they missed out on the much bigger picture. And that's what happens to us when we don't allow ourselves to know that deep within there is a place and a space that knows and that understands the big picture, that understands the larger reality, and we can tune in to that place, we can tap into that place, we can dwell in that place, we can abide in that place when we just allow ourselves to do so. And I know you're looking at me saying, well, that's a tall order. But the thing of it is, when we make the decision to know this, when we make the decision to walk in this, then it opens itself up to us and it becomes available. So the thing of it is that when we understand that it's available to us, and then when we get into the place where we stop trying, as Einstein said, to solve a problem on the same level of consciousness that created it, you know how that is. We feel like, well, I don't have enough, so I continue to dwell upon the fact that I don't have enough, and we keep reinforcing that idea. But if we never consider the possibilities, if we never consider that there's more, we're always going to get it. You remember Mom's Maiden, who said, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. We have to understand those things. We can't solve a problem. Sometimes we want to look at the current situation and say that that's reality. But we're a group of people that gather here each week, and we talk about the fact that there's more. We gather here in this space, and we talk about the fact that we practice the daily presence of God. We make it our spiritual truth, our spiritual reality, and that's what we're called to do here today. That's what we're called to do here. And see, it's important to understand this. I told you about the billions of bits of information that come to us. Well, there's another part of this, and that is that we think on average somewhere 60,000 thoughts per day. 60,000 thoughts per day. All of us think, some of you say, I think a whole lot more than that. But 60,000 thoughts. If you don't believe that, if you've not meditated before, you try meditating and your mind pops all over the place, and people say, I can't meditate because my mind, you're just paying attention now to what your mind's doing all the time. And the really kind of disheartening thing in one way is that out of those 60,000 thoughts, just about 1,000 are new thoughts. Just about 1,000 of those 60,000 are new thoughts. So, in other words, we think the same thing over and over again. That's why one thought, one time won't get it. That's why we have to continuously affirm things, continuously hold the vision, continuously see it, continuously be in that space where not only do we see it and hold the vision, but we feel it manifesting in our lives inside. And when we're able to do that, then we begin changing those thoughts, and then we begin replacing those everyday thoughts that got us where we are with something that will take us to another place, to take us to where it is that we wish to be. When we get in that space, things begin happening. So this morning, I just wanted to remind you of that as we gather in this space. And I told you, as we see our theme for the month, Expanded Vision, Expanded Consciousness, I tell you what these two things have in common and what they mean. And these are things that have changed many people's lives in the course of what we do. Of course, we know that the camera, the instant camera, was something that when it came into being, when it came into vogue, invented by Dr. Edwin Land, it changed things. That now people were able to be their own photographer and developer. You were able to take pictures and do the things that you did. And of course, the computer, Steve Jobs, and Dr. Edwin Land, who invented these things. And Steve Jobs said something interesting. That was that when he first started coming up with the idea for the Apple computer, the Macintosh, that he didn't talk about it much because he said people had not seen anything like this before. And about the only thing that came close to them kind of understanding was a calculator. And this was so much more than a calculator. So he had to spend time staying with his vision in the same way that Edwin Land did. And sometimes you don't necessarily talk about it with everybody because there are dream snatchers that will snatch your dreams or try to snatch your dreams. So you have to have those trusted partners in believing. But what Edwin Land and Steve Jobs had in common was revealed in a meeting that Steve Scully, who was the former president of Apple, talked about one day when Steve Jobs wanted to meet Edwin Land. They went to his office and they sat down in a conference room at a conference table. And Scully said the fascinating thing was Land and Jobs were looking at the center of the table. And they started a conversation about their respective, people call them inventions. But they said, we didn't invent these things, we discovered them. Said that the Apple Macintosh, the computer, Steve Jobs says, has always existed. All of the possibility, everything that it took for it to come together already was out there. I didn't invent it, I just discovered it. Steve Land said the very same thing. He said that the Polaroid camera, that I didn't invent it, I discovered it. And then they went on in that conversation, Scully says, to talk about how it was a process of seeing that, but going through with the assurance that it was already done, it was already available. They just simply, as we say it here, allow it to come in to be. They expanded their vision. They expanded their consciousness. They saw not what was before them in terms of reality, but they saw something different. They saw something greater. And that's what it's all about, seeing something. Do you realize that a Boeing 747 jet is longer than the first flight that the Wright brothers took? The first flight that they took was very short. A 747 is longer. But the fact of it is that it takes people being open and available to what Spirit has to offer, what Spirit is saying. And here's something that Em and I were talking about yesterday. It's important to understand that when you get this vision, I wish it would happen right then and overnight we would be there. But the fact of the matter is that once we get it, we've got to hold on to it. I talked about the dream snatchers. That means that every day, day in and day out, things will happen. Things will come up. Things will try to get in the way. But the thing of it is, when we can hold fast to the vision, when we can allow ourselves to see it as it already is in existence, not wait until it happens to get happy or get excited or feel that it's done, but when we can see it beforehand, when we can already know that we know that it's happening, that is when we have expanded our vision and expanded our consciousness. It's available to us when we allow it to be. And I know that sounds simple. I was posted something the other week about being loved, and someone said, I don't know how to be loved. But I said, if you were to step back for a moment and know that all that you need to know and be loved is inside of you. And the same thing with this. Whatever we set out to do, that all that we need to know and to be that is already inside of us. We live in a loving, abundant, extravagant, prosperous, loving, giving, inspiring, motivating, magnetizing universe. We could call it God, we could call it spirit, we could call it source, we could call it energy, we could call it love intelligence, we could call it Yahweh, we could call it Jehovah, we could call it Jesus, we could call it Buddha, we could call it Krishna, whatever it is that we choose to call it, it's the same thing. And it's expressing right now as you. And it's you. And it's you. And it's letting you know that right here and right now, it's already done. So step into this awareness. Step into this knowing. Step into this being today. Expand your vision. Expand your consciousness. So it is.
So it is.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings. And with every breath you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is found in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Do amazing.